What if babysitting your brother this summer revealed you were gay all along? Lincoln stared at the cracked screen of his phone, the question echoing in his head like a siren he couldn't silence. The call from his mother had come 2 hours earlier, her voice bright and insistent the way it always was when she wanted something. "Sweetheart, your father and I are leaving for Europe next week for that conference, 3 whole months. Lucas is home from college, and well, you know how he is. We need someone responsible there. Come home, Lincoln. Just for the summer." He had said yes before he could think it through. Seattle had started to feel like a cage anyway. Dead-end job at the marketing firm, nights spent scrolling through profiles he never messaged, the constant weight of pretending everything was fine. Now here he was, pulling his old Ford into the driveway of the white 2-story house in Willow Creek, Oregon, the same house he had left at 18 thinking he would never look back. The front door flew open before he even killed the engine. Lucas bounded down the steps, taller than Lincoln remembered, shoulders broader, that same crooked grin lighting up his face. At 20, Lucas looked nothing like the gangly kid who used to beg for rides to soccer practice. Sun-streaked blonde hair fell into his eyes, and his t-shirt clung to a body that had clearly spent the last year in the gym. "Big bro, you actually came." Lucas wrapped him in a hug that smelled like sunscreen and laundry detergent. Lincoln stiffened for half a second, then forced himself to relax. It was just Lucas, his little brother, the one he had always protected. Inside, the house felt smaller than memory allowed. Same faded blue couch, same family photos lining the hallway. Lincoln and Lucas at every age, arms around each other, smiling like nothing in the world could touch them. Their parents had already left a note on the fridge: "Love you both. Be good. Call if you need anything. Mom and Dad." Lucas tossed Lincoln a beer from the fridge before he could even drop his duffel bag. "Welcome home, man. 3 months of freedom. No parents, no rules. We're gonna have a blast." Lincoln took the bottle but didn't open it right away. "You say that like you haven't been throwing parties since they left." Lucas laughed, the sound easy and bright. "Guilty. But now you're here to keep me in line, right?" That first week slipped by in a haze of grocery runs, late-night video games, and Lucas dragging Lincoln to the local lake where kids from high school still hung out. Lincoln watched his brother laugh with old friends, watched the way girls still looked at Lucas even though he never seemed to look back. Something about it tugged at Lincoln's chest in a way he couldn't name. On the 8th night, after too many beers on the back porch, Lucas finally said it. "I'm gay." The words landed between them like a stone dropped in still water. Lincoln froze, bottle halfway to his lips. Lucas kept staring at the stars, voice steady but quiet. "I've known since I was 15. Never told Mom and Dad. Never told you. Figured you'd freak out. But you're here all summer, and I don't want to lie anymore. Not to you." Lincoln's throat closed. He should have said something supportive, something brotherly. Instead, his mind raced back through every memory, every sleepover, every hug, every time he had felt too aware of Lucas's warmth beside him. He forced the words out. "I'm not freaking out." Lucas turned, eyes searching. "You sure? Because you look like you just got punched." "I'm sure." Lincoln swallowed hard. "I'm glad you told me." But inside, the question wouldn't stop. What if babysitting your brother this summer revealed you were gay all along? Lincoln woke the next morning with the question still ringing in his ears. Lucas was already in the kitchen making pancakes, humming off-key to some pop song on his phone. Sunlight poured through the windows, turning the whole room golden and ordinary. Nothing had changed. Everything had changed. They ate in silence at first. Then Lucas set his fork down. "Look, if this is weird now, I can crash at Jake's place. He's got an apartment above the coffee shop downtown. No pressure." "Jake?" Lincoln repeated the name like it was foreign. "My boyfriend." "Well, sort of. We've been seeing each other since spring. He's cool. You'd like him." Lincoln's stomach did a slow flip. He pictured some faceless guy holding his little brother's hand and felt something sharp and unfamiliar twist behind his ribs. Jealousy? Protectiveness? He pushed it down. "Stay here," he said. "This is your house, too. I'm not kicking you out because you're gay, Lucas. That's not who I am." Lucas studied him for a long moment, then smiled, small, relieved. "Thanks, man. Means a lot." The days that followed settled into a rhythm. Lincoln took over grocery shopping and yard work while Lucas worked part-time at the hardware store. Evenings they grilled burgers, watched old movies, talked about everything except the one thing now hanging between them. Lincoln found himself noticing things he never had before. The way Lucas's laugh crinkled the corners of his eyes, the casual way he draped an arm over the back of the couch, the easy confidence in his stride. One afternoon, Lincoln drove downtown for coffee and nearly collided with a guy coming out of the shop. Tall, dark hair, warm brown eyes, sleeves rolled up on a button-down that showed tattoos snaking up his forearms. "Sorry," the guy said, steadying Lincoln with a hand on his shoulder. "You okay?" "Yeah. Fine." Lincoln's voice came out rougher than intended. The stranger smiled. "I'm Alex. You new around here? Don't think I've seen you before." "Lincoln. Back for the summer. Babysitting my brother, apparently." Alex laughed, the sound low and genuine. "Brave man. I've got a little sister. Same age as yours, probably." Nightmare. They ended up sitting outside at the metal tables, iced coffees between them, talking about nothing important: music, bad movies, the price of gas. Lincoln couldn't remember the last time a conversation had felt this effortless. When Alex finally stood to leave, he slid a napkin across the table with his number scribbled on it. "In case you need another coffee break. Or someone who gets the whole family duty thing." Lincoln stared at the numbers long after Alex walked away. His pulse was doing something strange. He folded the napkin into his pocket like it was evidence of a crime. That night, Lucas noticed something. "You're quiet." "Everything cool." "Fine," Lincoln lied. "Just tired." But sleep wouldn't come. He lay in the dark listening to the house creak, replaying Alex's laugh, the brief touch on his shoulder. The question whispered again, louder now. What if the brother you were supposed to protect turned out to be the one who forced you to confront the truth about who you really are? By the third week, Lincoln had texted Alex 3 times. Each conversation stretched longer, easier. They met at the lake one Saturday when Lucas was working late. Alex brought a beat-up guitar and played soft chords while they sat on the dock, feet dangling in the water. Lincoln told him about Seattle, the job that paid bills but never lit him up. Alex listened like every word mattered. "You ever feel like you're living someone else's script?" Alex asked quietly. "Every damn day." Alex's knee brushed Lincoln's. Neither of them moved away. Back home, Lucas was waiting with Chinese takeout and a knowing look. "You got a date or something?" "You're smiling like an idiot." Lincoln almost denied it. Then he didn't. "Met a guy?" "Alex. From the coffee shop." Lucas's eyebrows shot up, but he kept his tone light. "Nice. He cute." "Yeah. He is." The admission felt like stepping off a cliff. Lincoln waited for the panic. It didn't come. Lucas clapped him on the back. "Good for you, man. Seriously. You deserve someone who sees you." The words lodged somewhere deep. Lincoln spent the rest of the night replaying them while Lucas fell asleep on the couch, remote still in his hand. For the first time in years, Lincoln let himself imagine what it would feel like to stop pretending, to want what he wanted without the shame that had always followed the thought. The next morning brought the first crack in the peace. Their mother called, voice tight over video. "How's Lucas doing? Is he staying out of trouble?" Lincoln glanced at his brother flipping eggs at the stove. "He's good, Mom. Working. Helping around the house." She sighed. "I worry about him. He's always been different. Sensitive. Just keep an eye on who he's hanging around with, okay?" The implication sat heavy in Lincoln's stomach. He ended the call quickly, but the unease lingered. Lucas caught the tail end of the conversation and didn't ask questions. Instead, he turned up the music and danced badly around the kitchen until Lincoln laughed despite himself. That afternoon, they drove to the river to cool off. Lucas cannonballed into the water, shouting for Lincoln to join him. They raced each other to the opposite bank, splashing, wrestling like kids again. When Lucas finally pinned him against a rock, both of them breathing hard and grinning, something shifted in Lincoln's chest. Not brotherly. Not safe. He pushed away too fast, heart hammering. Lucas noticed. "You okay?" "Yeah. Just cold." But the lie tasted like metal. That night, Lincoln stared at Alex's number for 20 minutes before finally hitting call. "Hey." Alex answered, voice warm. "Was hoping you'd reach out." They talked until 2 in the morning. When Lincoln finally hung up, he felt lighter than he had in years. And terrified. The first official date happened on a Thursday. Alex picked him up in a battered Jeep, windows down, music low. They drove to a tiny Italian place 2 towns over where no one knew them. Candlelight, cheap red wine, conversation that never stalled. Alex talked about growing up in Portland, coming out at 17, the fights with his father that eventually turned into quiet acceptance. I was lucky, Alex said. Not everyone gets that. Lincoln thought of his mother's careful words on the phone. Yeah, not everyone. After dinner, they walked along a quiet path behind the restaurant. Fireflies blinked in the tall grass. Alex stopped under a street lamp and looked at him. I like you, Lincoln. A lot. But I know this is new for you. We can take it slow. Lincoln's answer was to lean in and kiss him. Soft, tentative, nothing like the fantasies he had buried for years. Alex kissed back like he had been waiting for permission. When they pulled apart, Lincoln felt the ground tilt beneath him. This was real. This was him. He floated home on that feeling until he walked in and found Lucas pacing the living room, phone clutched tight. Mom called again. She wants to video chat with both of us tomorrow. Said something about checking in properly. I think she suspects I'm hiding stuff. Lincoln's stomach dropped. What did you tell her? Nothing. But she's not stupid. And if she starts digging, they stayed up talking strategy. How much to say, how much to hide. Lincoln realized with a jolt that he was no longer just protecting Lucas. He was protecting himself too. The secret was no longer only his brother's. The next morning the video call went exactly as feared. Their mother's smile was too bright. You boys look happy. Anything new? Lucas glanced at Lincoln. Lincoln glanced at the floor. The silence stretched until their mother filled it with questions about friends, girls, any special someone? Lucas deflected with jokes. Lincoln said nothing at all. After the call ended, Lucas punched his shoulder lightly. We survived, but Lincoln felt the walls closing in. That night he met Alex again, needing the anchor. They parked by the lake and talked for hours. When Alex reached over and laced their fingers together, Lincoln didn't pull away. For the first time he let himself believe maybe he could have both, his brother's trust and this new, terrifying truth. Misunderstandings arrived like summer storms, fast and loud. Lucas came home early one night and found Lincoln on the porch finishing a call with Alex, voice soft in a way it never was with anyone else. Lucas froze in the doorway, expression unreadable. You really like him, huh? Yeah. Lincoln met his eyes. I do. Lucas nodded once, then disappeared upstairs. The next morning the air felt different. Lucas was polite, distant, offering one-word answers over breakfast. Lincoln tried to bridge the gap. Talk to me. What's going on? Nothing. Just I thought when I came out to you it would bring us closer. Now it feels like you're pulling away for someone else. The words hit harder than Lincoln expected. That's not fair. I'm still here. I'm still your brother. Are you? Lucas's voice cracked. Because it feels like you're figuring out your own stuff, and I'm just the excuse that got you here. They argued. First real fight in years. Accusations flew about who was hiding more, who was using whom. Lucas stormed out. Lincoln sat on the couch feeling the house echo around him. He had come to protect his brother and ended up needing protection himself. 2 days of cold silence followed. Lincoln texted Alex less, terrified that every step forward with him cost him Lucas. Alex noticed. You're pulling back. Family stuff. Something like that. Alex didn't push, but the worry in his eyes was clear. Lincoln drove to the hardware store where Lucas worked and waited in the parking lot until his shift ended. When Lucas walked out, Lincoln stepped into his path. I'm sorry. I never meant to make you feel replaced. Lucas's shoulders dropped. I know. I've been the gay one my whole life. Now you're figuring it out too, and it's scary. What if mom and dad can't handle both of us? They hugged right there in the parking lot, awkward and fierce. Lincoln felt the crack in the foundation begin to heal. But he also knew the real test was still coming. The parents returned early. Plain trouble, they said. Their mother took one look at the two of them laughing in the kitchen and knew something had shifted. Dinner that night was quiet until she set her fork down. Boys, we need to talk. Lucas went pale. Lincoln reached under the table and squeezed his brother's knee, solidarity. Their father cleared his throat. We heard some things from the neighbors. About visitors. Late nights. We're not angry, just concerned. Lincoln's mouth went dry. He looked at Lucas, who gave the smallest nod. Then Lincoln spoke. Mom, Dad, I'm gay. Lucas has known longer. He helped me see it. And I'm seeing someone. His name is Alex. The silence that followed was deafening. Their mother's eyes filled with tears. Their father stared at his plate. Questions came. How long? Why didn't you tell us? What does this mean for the family? Lincoln answered every one, voice steadier than he felt. Lucas sat beside him, quiet support. Later, alone with their mother in the living room, she whispered, I always worried about Lucas. Never about you. I feel like I failed both of you. You didn't fail us, Lincoln said. We just needed time to figure it out. And we're still your sons. She hugged him then, long and hard. The kind of hug that said forgiveness was possible even if it would take work. Lucas found him afterward on the back porch. You did it. You came out first. For both of us. Lincoln laughed shakily. Turns out babysitting you was the worst idea Mom ever had. They sat shoulder to shoulder watching the stars, the summer air warm around them. Lincoln felt the weight he had carried for years finally begin to lift. The last weeks of summer unfolded like a gift. Alex came for dinner one night, nervous, polite, answering every question their parents threw at him with quiet honesty. Lucas teased him mercilessly, but in the way that meant approval. Their father even shook Alex's hand at the end of the night and muttered, Seems like a good man. Lincoln and Lucas spent the final evenings packing Lucas's things for his return to college. They talked about everything, future visits, how to handle holidays, how to keep supporting each other no matter what. Lincoln realized the boy he had come home to protect had become the man who helped him find himself. On the last night before Lincoln drove back to Seattle, the four of them, Lincoln, Lucas, Alex, and their parents, sat around the fire pit roasting marshmallows like old times. Lucas looked across the flames at his brother and mouthed, Thank you. Lincoln smiled back, the question that had haunted him all summer finally answered. He wasn't the same man who had pulled into the driveway 3 months ago. He was braver, clearer, loved. And the brother he had come to watch over had grown up right beside him, showing him the way. The drive north the next morning felt different. Lincoln rolled the windows down, Alex's playlist playing softly, the road stretching ahead, full of possibility. In the rearview mirror, Willow Creek grew smaller, but the lessons it taught him would travel with him forever. Sometimes the person you're asked to protect ends up saving you instead. In the end, this story isn't about perfect endings or easy answers. It's about the quiet courage it takes to look at yourself in the mirror and choose truth over comfort. Lincoln learned that family doesn't have to understand everything right away. Sometimes they just have to keep showing up. Lucas discovered that being the first to speak can open doors for others. And both brothers realized love, romantic or fraternal, grows strongest when it's built on honesty. The real lesson? Don't wait for permission to become who you are. The summer you think is just babysitting might be the one that finally sets you free. Life changes when we stop hiding, and that change, however messy, is always worth it.